The clip you are about to watch is from Talking in the Library, live every Wednesday evening. Do subscribe so you can watch live.
Idea that perpetuates itself through society, that this idea of if nothing we do matters, then the only thing that matters is what we do, and that's what's distanced ourselves from these grand ideas of good versus evil, of epic struggles against incredible odds, and people wonder why they feel unfulfilled.
So let me take this back several hundred years, and I'm going to get into a little bit of religion weeds here, so I apologize in advance.
Go for it.
We're getting nostalgic for the 1600s again.
Well, I'm going for the 1600s in particular.
Anglican Church speak.
Oh God, no. Look,
Put the woman in the tub of water.
Hey, it's Feifel.
She needs to die.
Hello, Feifel.
Bring me a ceremony.
Right, no, let me say this, because we're talking about the loss of things, right? We're talking about how there's a decay, but also there are still, there are bright lights in the darkness. I would posit that the beginning of the end was probably Martin Luther nailing his 95 or 99, whatever it was, points to the church doors. Yes. And the reason I say this, not just because I'm a Pope enjoyer,
yes, you are,
but because what that was a rejection of something grander. Now, that isn't to say that, he was not believing in a higher power, there was no spirituality there, but that sort of, this need to strip away, this sort of almost would you guys know what I was saying when I used the word iconoclasm?
Yes.
Iconoclasm, for those in the chat that don't know, by the way, thank you all for still being here, do like and subscribe and whatnot. Iconoclasm was a heresy in the ancient world, in the Christian church, where people did away with icons and statues of saints and things. They would go around smashing and defacing them because they believed that it was idolatry. Iconoclasm. Martin Luther did a very similar thing, where iconoclasm sort of swept the Western Protestant world. You go to any ancient church building in my country, and where the Anglicans now squat, there are empty alcoves where saints used to stand. What you have got is you're left with the sort of the core of the thing, Christianity and Christ, but all of the trappings of the faith have been stripped away, whether you agree with the Catholicism or not. It's a similar, and that sort of attitude of stripping things to core components and getting rid of the bells and the whistles and the character of something. It sort of carries on into postmodernism, which I think is what we're dealing with today. I think it has its roots in Protestantism.
That's 100%.
And this stripping away has led to where we are now, because we don't have elves being elves because of some mythological root. We have elves because elves because elves because elves. And I think the reason that I'm bringing this up is there's a great book called The Dwarves, written by Marcus Heitz, German author. When you read the foreword, he very clearly states that he made his dwarves as traditional as possible because he understood, though I don't think he understood why he understood, that dwarves have to be a certain way. And when you sort of go back, and I think by traditional dwarf he meant Tolkien dwarf. And the reason Tolkien dwarves are so successful is because they are so similar to the mythological dwarves from which he was drawing. And again, it's this adding back in of the character of the thing. You're not stripping away the Norse and Northern English and Celtic idea of dwarf. You're adding all of this character back into it, and all of a sudden the saints have their heads again. And you get these massive, beautiful cathedrals of fantasy which truly inspire. You don't just have this grey building slowly being dilapidated as more things are pulled away. yeah, I say, so Griff's right there is like, all this stuff Jack is talking about is too highbrow for me. I just gatekeep. No tieflings or dragonborn. Off you go. Not in my games. Lol. I actually like tieflings. In fact, Griff, you should go and watch my video on tieflings. Tell me what you think. I think you'd appreciate it. And in return, I'll watch your documentary.
I think you've got a very good point. I think we're finally seeing the culmination of all of those efforts in the fact that now you can be anything and play anything, and all you got to do is say an oath, and none of the class restrictions are there. None of the races aren't even a thing because it's all been taken away. So it's just now it's turned into a corporatized homogenization of anything and everything in the for the ideal of so that everybody can feel good about themselves because everybody can be everything. But it's like, you got to sometimes realize there's some things you're going to be and there's some things you're not going to be. And that's just the way it is. Go and be what you can be and don't sit there and be upset because you can't be what you can't be. It's like, that's just the way life is. How you got the dice rolled.
There's no consequences for your choices as a player anymore.
Right.
That is something that we could go all night.
And that's where we have the removal of fantasy. So just like you said, with this whole thing, and it's just removal of fantasy, removal of fantasy, and art imitating life. And we're at a point now where I think, unfortunately, the kids are inundated with it from day one, and there's this just depressing dystopian future coming about because it's the way our society is. So we haven't had any room for fantasy. Maybe we can if things are good enough, but right now it's like everybody's just realizing that they can't live in this world. They really can't. It is literally impossible for a kid today to go out, get a burger flipping job, and get a 1-1 apartment.
Yep.
But that's a whole nother rabbit hole.
Let's not get into that. Right, guys, I want to wrap up this conversation. I want to sort of spend the last half an hour.
Jack, could I jump? Add one thing.
I'm leaving.
Let Kyle jump. Yeah. Kyle, plug yourself quick.
Real quick, I'm leaving. Dying Breed Tabletop on X/Twitter. If you want to follow me,
in chat.
I'm co-host with Jack on Nerd Cognito. Check us out on Nerd Cognito. Follow, subscribe to the Rumble channel. And I wish you guys the best. And I'm sorry, Kevin Lamb, I talked over you a lot. You should have had more airtime. I apologize.
No worries. Happy to be a part of it.
And it was great to see everybody. Thank you very much.
We'll have you back soon.
See you,
See you, Kyle.
Go for it, Kevin.
Going back to the Paladin thing. And I find it interesting that as the Paladin has been stripped of all of its good, you've seen the exact opposite shift with monsters. As orcs have been stripped of their evil, paladins, original D&D, Paladin was based on like the Holger from 3 Hearts and 3 Lions, this actual servant of God. Well, then they took God out of the Paladin, and then now you just serve an ideal or any alignment or what have you, and then they just said an oath. You're just a warrior with an oath. And now, as far as
dumb. Oaths are very dumb.
Doesn't current 5e even have oath breaker paladins, so that you don't even need the oath anymore. You're just gray mush of
we don't even have blackguards, which is what I would consider the evil paladin.
You do in the monster manual.
You're just a warrior with some, again, flashy lights and maybe healing, maybe not. And just as all of the monsters have gone the other direction, it's like everything has to meet in the middle and be completely interchangeable. Monsters that were based on gender can't, like a succubus or a dryad or they can't even have that anymore. Everything that made something unique has been stripped away so that it's just all even. Monsters are in the player's handbook. Players are, can be, basically evil paladins. It's, there's no objective reality, certainly no objective good or evil that even exists in these games anymore.
Paladin in hell.
There you go.
That
Exactly.
is possibly
Supreme
the
good,
most
supreme evil. Yeah.
the most iconic piece of D&D art ever for me.